Well, hi everyone. Welcome to the New England Racing Show, Manchester, New Hampshire, Channel 23, and also on YouTube. And like us on Facebook, you'll get the show on your Facebook page every week. Well, we're going to continue with the interviews from February 7th at Racers Expo down in Marlborough, Mass. We have 4 interviews today. Scot Fanning, the race director of the Northeast Street Stock Tour, a new series that's starting up this year. Mike Parks, the race director of the Granite State Pro Stock Series, which has been going on for a few years and is very successful. Bob Weber Jr., he and his dad own Star Speedway and promote it. And Mike Netishen Jr., famous ISMA Supermodified driver from Auburn, New Hampshire. So let's get with it.
Amen. The Racers Expo in Marlborough, Massachusetts, the 2015 version. And we talk about the fact that many of the racetracks are here on display, along with the various parts and chassis and raceware vendors. We also have a number of the local touring series that are here as well, and the newest one, which everybody's pretty excited about, the Northeast Street Stock Tour. And Scot Fanning joins us from there, and congratulations on the birth of your new tour.
Well, thank you very much.
How'd that all come about?
It came about in a funny way with a couple of friends sitting around a computer and a few too many beers.
Well, many fine inventions have come via that way.
Well, this one happened that way, and we, there's a lot of touring divisions around, and we're looking back and forth, me and a couple of my buddies, Nick Ray's helping me head this up, and we looked at each other and said, everybody else has got a tour. Why can't we have one? And we just hatched it out of that. We started a Facebook page, and I've been flooded ever since.
Well, most every racetrack has a division that's either called street stock or close to it and it's got another name. How do you include everybody in the tour?
You don't. You can't include everybody. Every situation that comes up with a street stock style race car, some of them are different. Some of them are a little past the street stock stage. Some of them aren't quite street stocks. So you kind of just have to set guidelines and go from there. Our rules package is pretty wild in some areas and pretty straightforward in other areas. You really can never cover every circumstance for these cars because of the variety of different tracks and the way they see their street stocks. So we, some of them are going to have to be a case-by-case scenario where this, we can do this with this chassis and this with this other chassis. But I think it's going to be pretty well-rounded, and I think the competition is going to be pretty sick.
Yeah, well, it tends to be one of the stronger divisions at the local track, so we know there's plenty of cars out there, so there's probably plenty of cars that would meet that rules package. And putting together a tour, you got to put together a whole staff, right?
Yeah, we've got, 3/4 of a staff anyway. I've got my son Corey, who drives limited sportsmans at Thompson, who's in a late model this year there, and a street stock at Seekonk. He's a knowledgeable kid, knows what he's looking at. He's going to be doing tech. I'm going to handle some of the tech, but I'm going to be handling a few other things. I'm going to be wearing a couple of hats for the meanwhile. Nick Ray is basically helping me do all the promotions, talking to the tracks, because I may look like a people person, but I'm really not.
Take my tour, or I'll break your neck.
Yeah, well, I'm a straightforward guy. I tell it the way I see it. I may not be right 100% of the time, but I tell it the way I see it. And, I've got the Carpenters who I drove for John Carpenter Sr. at Thompson. Him and his son both stepped on. Well, my buddy Bill Perry stepped on to help us out. And a few other guys that have been in and out of my racing team, over the years. So I've got guys who have all been around racing. They all know what they're looking at. Just to help keep things rolling, you know what I mean? It's a different side of the fence to look at on this side. I've been driving for 30 years. I started when I was 15. I'm 45.
Okay.
So, I think that brings a good thing to the table because I know what I'm looking at. I know what the guy behind the wheel's upset about. I know what this happened. I know how this happened. You know what I mean? I think it's a valuable tool to have.
Yeah.
So, hopefully that works in our favor.
I think any touring series will tell you that you got to find that balance between keeping the competitors happy, but keeping the promoter happy too.
You're right. Most of the tracks that are working with us right now, Thompson Speedway's been behind us 100%. I spent a lot of time there as a kid and everything else growing up, and racing there. So Josh Granite has been behind us, pushing us the whole way. I mean, we got a big hats off to him because he really helped us a lot. And, I got a date with Scot Speedway. I've known Dave Auburn for a long time. I raced there as a kid also. And two great facilities in my area, of all things to grab. And Scot, Thompson, those are big names. We got Monadnock, we got Lee. So we got some big names on there to start with, and I think that's a good step too.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm looking at it at your schedule, and it's a pretty meaty schedule that keeps the guys busy, but at the same time doesn't preclude them from being able to run their weekly track.
Sure, and that's what we wanted to keep in mind. I've talked with a handful of drivers that came with us that I've known for a few years. Joe Arenas signed on with us. Chris Moose Doughton has signed on with us. I've raced door to door with these guys at Thompson, and the first thing they said to me was, "Are you going to do this every week?" And I said, "Well, I really don't want to. I don't want to take from a weekly track. I want to bring something to every track that I go to. So instead of taking 5 guys from every track, I want these guys to still continue, if they can afford it, and then step on with us where they can."
As you look at the schedule, and you mentioned Lee, Seekonk, Monadnock, Speedway 51, which is, I guess, the new name of the track in Groveton, New Hampshire.
Yes, it is. Used to be Riverside Speedway.
Right.
We went up there for a small show at the end of the year, just trying to get some people out there, let them know what we're doing, and unfortunately we got rained out, and it was at the end of the year. It was really tough to reschedule.
Yeah.
But we had a great time practicing all Friday. We had a blast. We had 24 guys show up in the rain.
Oh, that's great. Great. Well, the big buzz that goes along with the buzz of your new series is that you're going to be running on the road course at Thompson.
Absolutely. When we sat down with Josh Veneta to talk about a Thompson date, which he gave us the World Series, which I think in itself is a huge show because anybody who's everybody knows the Thompson World Series.
Sure.
I mean, when I was a kid, that's the best race I wanted to go to, even when I ran a different track.
Yeah.
We got to go to the World Series. But he looked at me and he said, "You guys be interested in doing something on the road course?" I said, "You know what, Josh, to be honest with you, every time they talk to me about this, they go, if you get Thompson, see if you can get the road course too." So I said, "Yeah, why not?" He says, "We're going to try and put something together." And he got together with Guptill and the Truck Series, and it's a date.
Yeah.
And that's all I've been hearing about is, these guys are, "Oh, I can't wait to do the road course." I've got guys that I've been racing with for years are saying, even if I don't do anything else with your tour, I'm going to that road course.
Yeah.
And I got 10 guys on top of that saying, even if I don't bring a car, I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be neat. Street stocks on a road course is going to be a challenge for every team because these things are hard enough to get to turn left, never mind changing stuff back and trying to go, straight
Sure.
with them now. And I think it's going to be a challenge for them, us, and everybody watching. I just think it's going to be a blast.
Well, it'll be interesting. You've got I noticed on the schedule you got a sort of a test and tune there in April, so it'll give you a chance of what the cars can do, give you an idea of what they can do, and you got a good part of the season to figure it out because you don't run on the road course until mid-September.
Right. Josh wanted to get guys there early enough so they had ample time to do their research after that, And, my staff's going to be on hand for both shows. And, any hand we can lend is going to be there. And I don't have a lot of road race experience, but I've got car experience, so hopefully we can go. We got a few guys showing up that have been on road courses and set up road course cars. So at least if they can be there to just give some advice, point guys in the right direction. We got a handful of guys going like that. We got a couple of big names that already wanted to come to the road course itself. I've got Mad Dog Facette, who I just talked to today, who's dying to jump in a car and
Sure.
get there. And we're hoping to get a few other big names coming.
I think that's going to happen. I think you're going to get a lot of inquiries for people that just want to be able to make that kind of history with you guys. If somebody wants to know more about the tour or that race in particular, how do they get a hold of you guys?
The best way to get me right now is still on Facebook, N.E. Street Stock Tour. They'll contact me or my buddy Nick Ray, who handle most of the Facebook. I do have a website going up. It should be up next week.
Okay.
I'm thinking
Okay.
we could hit another snag. Who knows? It's been in the making for a while. But Facebook is still the best way to reach us. We do have contact numbers on there. If they come to any of the shows, we're going to be at Springfield also.
Well, the first real event after that practice at Thompson's Road Course is at Leaf for their Tri-Track Modified Series race that's there on May 17th. That's not that far off.
No, that's not far off at all. And if you're building a race car, it's a real short time.
Yeah.
But we basically, we weren't even going to run a show then. Seekonk's going to be our opener. It's our first points race. And that's May 30th, I believe.
Yeah.
But the May 17th show is really going to serve as a Tri-Track Series came to us and said they want more cars. They want guys to show up. And I said, geez, I've got 25 guys that are knocking on my door now to go race. They want to go race on ice, you know. I said, maybe we can make a few phone calls and see what we got. So we talked to the guys with the Tri-Track, and I said, I got guys that are tripping over each other to get here. So if you guys want us in, we're in. And they said, jump aboard. So it's not going to be a point show. It's going to be an exhibition just to show everybody what we're trying to bring to the table.
Yeah.
And it'll be a good tech day for me and the rest of my team, and plus it's a good dry run, you know.
Well, and I think it's going to be those shows that they ran last year, those Tri-Track Modified shows drew a lot of fans, so it's going to be a good showcase for you to show off the new tour.
Right. And the Tri-Track Series guys are an awesome group of guys. You know, I think they talk to me more than my fans do right now.
Okay.
But, they're working with us hard. They want us to push that event, and then we're going to try and push it any which way we can. And if you got a street stock, you think you fit in our rules, come to that show.
Awesome. It's the Northeast Street Stock Tour, brand new for 2015. Scott Fanning's the man. He dreamed it up. A little alcohol helped him come up with it.
Well, lightweight, so it was only a few drinks, I'm telling you.
All right. But nonetheless, it sounds exciting. It's the new exciting tour for 2015. Best of luck to you.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for coming in.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
This is Expo 2015, and visiting with us is a guy that's been around the racing game for quite a few years, and he's got a lot of experience. He's been a driver, or is still a driver. He's also been in an official's position. He's also been a race director, and holds that position right now at the Monadnock Speedway in Winchester, New Hampshire. But we're going to be talking about something that is very near and dear to his heart, and that's the Granite State Pro Stock Series. He's got a reason for having that kind of affection for the series, because it involves someone that left us just a few years ago. It was the brainchild of both he and the late John Hoyt. And how did you guys come to that, Mike?
Oh, boy. I was doing a little bit of work with John when he was the race director or operations manager for the MRS. And John and I'm not going to say we grew up together, but we were close personal friends for a long time, and he was a pro stock guy from a long time ago, and we were still racing the pro stocks, and at that time weekly pro stock racing was struggling really bad in our area, and we really felt that there was a need for a series kind of like what we started for not a full-blown super late model type car, but for the conventional New England based pro stocks. So long story short, we leased Claremont Speedway back in 2011 to see if there was interest, and we had, I think 18, 19 cars for that one event. So that showed us that there was definitely the interest in trying to put this together.
At the outset, you had some drivers that were sidelined from racing, veteran drivers like a Babe Branscombe. You've had the O'Sullivans, names synonymous with the Thompson Speedway in Connecticut. And you've had New Hampshire racers. Bobby Cabral comes to mind. You've had an interesting roster since this thing started, a little bit of experience and some new faces as well.
Yeah, we've had a wide variety of guys, from 14, 15-year-old kids to us old guys. But it's the nucleus is there. There's a good charge of the younger guys and a good charge of the guys my age, and in our mid-50s, early 50s, mid-50s, and we have to have the nucleus of the younger guys to keep this going forward, and I think we've been able to accomplish that.
From that first run to the first season, was it difficult to shop it around to the speedways where, it was virtually right out of the basket?
I have two people. The series has two people to thank for that: Larry Cirillo and Bob Weber. Without their support right off the bat, it never would have got off the ground. Bob has been very supportive of us at both Star and Hudson, and Larry at Monadnock as well. So the first year we had six events, two at each of those facilities, and that springboarded us to get back to, we ended up at Thompson and, and Lee and White Mountain and Speedway 51 up in Groveton, and so that's where the thanks goes is to Bob Weber and Larry Cirillo, because without their support to get going, we wouldn't be where we are right now.
Let's talk about the 2015 season. I mean, you're coming off a very impressive 14 schedule and season. Talk about 2015. Where is the series headed?
Well, we're going back to our staple racetracks. We're going back to Star and Hudson, Monadnock. We're going to Claremont Speedway under new ownership. We're going to race their opener Friday night, April 24th. We're going to go back to Speedway 51 in Groveton, New Hampshire, July 4th. Going back to Thompson. We have a solid 11 race schedule.
What's the roster looking like? Any additional names, newcomers coming in this year?
The first one, actually, we started going through that stuff today. The first one off the top of my head, that's a new addition, and I believe he's going to race for Rookie of the Year, is Corey Casagrande. And then Derek and myself and Barry Gray and, the staple guys that have been with the series.
Where would you like to see the series go? Are you satisfied with the amount of races that you've got on the schedule now? Would you like to get bigger and better?
It's a double-edged sword. For me personally, a 10-race season is perfect. But on the backside of that is a 10-race season enough for a younger team that are just starting to invest the kind of money it takes to invest in this type of car. So my goal has always been between 10 and 14 races. This series will never be more than 14. So if we're between 11 and 14, that's where it will stay.
Let's talk about Mike Parks a little bit. How long have you been involved in this? What got you started in racing?
Oh, my God. A friend of mine in Springfield, Vermont, named Kelly Harrison. Kelly I used to hang around with his brother-in-law in high school, and Kelly was racing at that time, and he kind of got me involved working on cars. But as far as spectating, I've been going since I was born. My dad and my granddad, we just always went to the races. That's what we did.
There's the name out of the past, Kelly Harrison. I did radio shows with him as guest back in the 70s. What's he doing these days?
He has a business called Heads Up Motorsports. He does a lot of Mazda road racing type cars and stuff like that.
Interesting. Now, he was also involved with the Vermont driver that went all the way to the Indy 500.
Yeah, he worked for Bill Alsop for, I think he worked there for a couple of years anyways. And actually, he brought me to the Indy 500. The year I graduated high school, we went to Indy and spent a week out there, so that was pretty cool.
So we established your racing roots, and let's talk about some of the officiating now. A lot of people don't know you've gone outside New England and officiated at other speedways.
Yeah, God, when Mike Perotti was at Airborne, I race directed up there for a couple years. Did the Claremont deal, race directed there for 3 or 4 years, and been at Monadnock for a couple years. Did a lot of dirt racing. Not as an official, but as a crew member, did that for 4 or 5 years. So that was fun. I've kind of done a little bit of everything. So,
want to wish you the best this year.
Well, we appreciate it, and thank you for having us.
All righty, Mike Parks has done it all, and he's eagerly looking forward to the 2015 season for the Granite State Pro Stock Series. John Spence here at Races Expo 2015. Here at Races Expo 2015, John Spence, joined by Bob Weber Jr., whose family and Bob himself operate the Star Speedway in Epping, New Hampshire. Bobby, welcome.
Thank you, John. Good to be here again at the Races Expo this year, and good turnout for Bobby this year. He's got good weather for a change down here, except for this afternoon.
Absolutely. We hope it clears up here for the folks when they leave here today. There's so much to talk about with Star Speedway, the history. I know I had the pleasure of working there for many years, and home of Supermodified racing. You grew up there. I actually watched you grow there with your family, and let's talk about 2015. Quite an exciting schedule has been put together by you.
Yeah, this year it's going to be different. We tried with the modifieds for 4 years, and losing Pete Frappio is a big part of the decision that we made in the end. Is I tried to do it on my own for a year without Pete and learned just how much of a backbone he was to the whole operation of the modifieds. In racing myself, you get to talking to a lot of people and everything, and Star has always been the home of the supers, and so it's kind of a natural thing to bring the 350 Supermodifieds back. And to quickly clear up one thing, I'm not trying to get into a war between Lee and Star. It's not the thing. We really aren't even dependent on any of the Lee Supermodifieds to race with. It's getting all these guys that haven't been racing for years back out onto the Speedway, the George Peralts, the John Leonards, these guys that have been sitting on the sidelines, the Rob Wilcoxes, getting these cars back out, because if we can get more cars back out, we can get this division back to where it belongs, a full 24-car field for both places to make out on in the end. And so it's going to be a good year. We have that. We have all the regular touring divisions. We have Pass coming in, Granite State Pro Stock Series. We have the new Wicked Cool Midgets coming in. And, of course, we have the Star Classic to end the year out.
Let's talk about the Supers returning there. What's the response been?
It's been great. I mean, you got guys, like I say, you have the John Leonards, the George Peralts, everybody that's going to participate. Sparky MacGyver is going to come over and race at Star on a weekly basis. I myself have Mike Netishen driving one of my cars this year. We have Matt Seavey driving the other car. Jared Soucy's going to be in one this year. He's been a 3-time champion with us at Hudson. Billy Osborne's getting back into one. Tommy Tombrello is going to come over and race with us some. So it should be a good Saturday night show.
And in addition to the Supers, what divisions?
We have the Allen's Coffee Flavored Brandy Outlaws, which are arguably one of the most competitive divisions in New England. It's a mix and pot division. I mean, you got guys that race at Seekonk, Monadnock, Beech Ridge, Oxford, anywhere they come from. We'll make it fit and we'll make it work. And we have the Woody's Auto Strictly Stocks and the Roadrunners every week.
Bobby, I would be remiss if I didn't ask or mention the fact that back several weeks ago on social media, word surfaced that your dad had taken ill prior to his annual trip to Aruba. Can you tell the viewers what his status is? Because I know a lot of people have offered thoughts and prayers and are very concerned about Dad. Your dad's been such a staple for New England motorsports for so long.
Yeah, it's been kind of a rough winter that way. We had the annual banquet at Star and Hudson, and he went to the doctor that Thursday. And all these years he's fought to try to be a father figure everywhere that races in New England, and he's always been the tough guy. And he found out he had cancer. And so he found out on a Thursday, and 2 weeks later he had an operation, and it was scary watching your dad, go through what he went through. It's like I've spent 10 years raising money for racing against cancer, and then it's like to have your dad, your hero, get brought down to this little thing that can affect him. So he spent 7 weeks in the hospital, and now it's looking better now, but it was scary. And he has colon cancer, and they found a couple more spots on his lung, but they're not really worried about that right now. And he's going through chemo now until August, and he's not letting it bug him. That's the biggest thing. So he's staying strong. I guess I'm the one who's going to be stronger. But he, like I say, he's my hero.
Certainly is, and a hero of a lot of people, a real racer, and we wish him well. He's in our thoughts and prayers, and I speak for all of New England, and we hope Dad can pull through this.
Thank you.
Certainly an emotional situation for Bob Webber Jr. As he said, his hero sidelined because of cancer. As he fights that, we'll all be thinking about him here, and we wish the Webber family well. John Spence, Racers Expo 2015.
Thank you very much. Once again, we're here live at the 2015 Racers Expo with Auburn, New Hampshire's Mike Netishen. Mike is the owner and driver of the number 55 ISMA Supermodified. Mike, I'd like to ask you a few questions. How long have you been in racing?
I've been involved with racing probably since I was 10 years old, running go-karts. started out going to the track with my father's, watching races, and bought go-karts, moved up from there, ran 350 Supermodifieds for quite a while, and now running ISMA, the big block supers.
Excellent, excellent. Do you find as you've grown throughout the years and throughout the different styles of racing that you've done that the changes in the cars from year to year are significant, or do they seem to stay the same?
Every year it seems like everybody gets a little bit faster. You know, you start out running at certain times on the clock, and the last 6 years of running supers at Lee, we about almost a half a second we picked up. So I mean, everybody steps up their game every year with it, and it's pretty competitive.
Excellent. What 2015 looks to be a pretty good year for a lot of the locals in the Supermodified ranks. Once again, you're driving the number 55 ISMA Supermodified, the International Supermodified Association. What plans do you have? Where are you going to travel to on the ISMA schedule this year?
We plan on doing all the New England races this year. We did quite a few of them last year. Star, Lee, Waterford, Thompson. And I think this year we're also going to try to do the Oswego races up in New York. So we're going to try to do that and just try our best.
Excellent. Yeah, a lot of, I don't know if you've ever been out there. Obviously, you've been out there a few times. A lot of fun, a lot of speed out there at Oswego. It's one of the places that I never got to go to in my racing career. But, we've been out there, and there's a great class of guys, and there's some pretty close racing out there, too.
Yeah, we did an expedition race with the small block out there at one time, and it's a fun track, a lot of room. I'm looking forward to the big block out there.
Excellent. Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. Should be, and I think if I'm not mistaken, they have a couple of races out there this summer.
Yeah, I believe there's 4 that they're running out there.
Well, that'll be interesting. Hopefully, between now and the end of the summer, you'll be able to get the package down and have a good finish out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you do in the off season? What do you like to do for fun? What do you how was Christmas? How was the holidays? What do you got a snowmobile, or what are you guys doing?
Working on the race cars a lot. Been doing that. Had some snowmobiles in the past. Doing some ice racing actually.
Excellent.
Up in Milton, New Hampshire. Yep.
The other thing that I wanted to ask, new plans. You changing the car around a little bit? Anything special that you've learned, or anything that you think you're going to do? Obviously you don't want to release any secrets, but updating the motor, rear end, or anything?
Quite a bit of updates. Yep, doing some updates on the hubs and the wheels, upgrading that. The basic Heims, going through the car, nut and bolt and everything. And we plan on taking the motor out and sending it out and getting some work done. Just a little bit extra horsepower doesn't hurt.
Excellent. Really appreciate your time. Once again, Mike Netishen out of Auburn, New Hampshire, the driver of the 55 ISMA Supermodified.
Okay, well, that's we still have more interviews next week from Racers Expo. And Bob Weber Sr., who we affectionately call Dad to everybody, last time we talked to Junior and Senior a week and a half ago. Senior's doing fine. So we're looking forward to going to Star Speedway this year. These supers look like they're going to have a full class. They're talking 15 to 20 of them. And we also have good news regarding Waterford Speed Bowl. The sale has closed, and Sean Monahan is the promoter. Scott Tapley's the race director, and they're looking forward to having a lot of racing this year. They're going to be opening up a little late because of track improvements they have to make in the snow, but it'll be a nice year at Waterford. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week with more interviews from Racers Expo.